Hello, very, very warm greetings to everyone who's joining today. And we would like just to begin with a short language translation announcement. The session is in English, but there is Portuguese and Spanish language interpretation on Zoom.
Con símbolo.
Para recibir traducción desde Windows y Mac en los iconos de control de la reunión, hacemos clic en Interpretación, clic en Español y opcional para escuchar solo el español, clic en Silenciar audio original. De Android y iOS, en los tres puntitos hacemos clic en Interpretación de idiomas, clic en Español y opcional tocamos el interruptor para silenciar el audio original y hacemos clic en Finalizado.
Olá, para ter acesso à tradução em Windows e Macs, em reunião webinar, carregue no botão Interpretação representado com o símbolo global. Clique Português. Tem a opção Ouvir apenas a língua do tradutor e para isso clique em Silenciar áudio original. Se tem Android ou iOS, na opção Reunião, clique mais os três pontinhos. Clique Interpretação de idiomas, clique Português. Mais uma vez tem a opção para ouvir apenas o tradutor, se assim o quiser fazer. Clique Silenciar áudio original, clique Pronto, OK.
Thank you. We enjoy listening to these different languages. It is amazing that we are using this technology. We're as if in our living room, we might have fire on or in our cozy places, but we're also able to really connect. So encouragement if you're happy to come into camera, because it is like interactive, it's a discussion. We love to hear from you. You can type in the chat in Portuguese, in English, any language. We can use Google, and we'd like to hear from you as we go through. And also we would like to know where you're joining from, because that also, it would be good to see where we're connecting to today. You can just pop it in the chat. And this topic of life's hidden meaning, I don't think we will necessarily, we will start to talk about in an hour, but such a major subject, such a beautiful subject that will open up, I'm sure, a lot. And a question for centuries for sages and scholars. I like this quote by a Roman poet, Ovid: "The cause is hidden, but the effect is visible to all." So I wonder if we can get the feeling of what the cause is. And in the last 2 years, there are many external effects, but what is the hidden, what is the meaning behind all of this? And if we're here, we're probably interested in philosophy. And Mark Gorky, a Russian writer and activist, said, "You cannot do without philosophy, since everything has a hidden meaning, which we must know." I wonder if these resonate with you. But, we have two speakers, and they both have something in common. They both are associated with retreat places, and that's a lot of dedication. And I've had the great pleasure of visiting both places. Mark, who's been associated with Brahma Kumaris for more than 30 years, and he says he likes this aspect of harnessing the power of the mind for success, happiness, and then managing challenges within and outside. He's helping to manage Lighthouse Retreat Center in Worthing. And Mara Gomes, she's a national coordinator of the Brahma Kumaris activities in Portugal. Born in Brazil, came across the ideas of the organization there also, moved to Portugal in the late 80s, and is based in Lisbon. So hello from Wales, hello from many places around Europe, I think, maybe the US. We would love to start with hearing some initial thoughts, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. We would like to visit Worthing and get the fragrance of the sea and hear your inspirations on this topic. So good evening, welcome to Mark, first of all. Mark, who is not able to unmute. Okay, now.
Thank you, Sarah. Hello, Mara. And hello to everyone who's joined this evening or whatever time it is for you. Fantastic subject, life's hidden meaning. And as Sarah gave you two quotations, I can't resist but to add a third. And Socrates once said apparently that the unexamined life is a worthless life. And I think that is a very key component of this subject, discovering the hidden meanings within life. And even myself, having been on a spiritual journey for, well, certainly 30 years with Brahma Kumaris and several years beforehand searching for some kind of truth or meaning. And my search particularly went into cognitive enhancement, which I thought would mean I could get an impeccable memory, a vast consciousness. So I was in the library in Chelmsford, where I used to live, this town near London, when I was about 13, 14 years old, reading these books on super consciousness, super memory, transformation and whatnot. And I got very, very inspired by all of that. However, I wasn't able to do anything with it. So actually on my journey through kind of researching for myself, studying the things that Brahma Kumaris offer, something that has particularly emerged for me, and actually quite interestingly, quite strongly over the last few days and weeks, it is the recognition that you can spend your life becoming, and we're actually taught and encouraged to become this, that, and the other. However, I'll just slow my voice down a bit. Translation. However, although it's good to obviously learn many things, to develop many skills, because it makes your life more interesting, effective, you're more in demand. But at the same time, by basing my awareness on those attainments, I'm actually becoming, but I'm going further away from the ultimate truth of the self. And what I've been realizing and witnessing in myself is that it's so tricky, meaning it's so, one has to be very alert not to be caught out by the distractions of life, even though they come in very, very nice forms and sometimes look very important, that you have to do this, you need to do this or that, relating with people, etc. Just life. But I've been really feeling the importance of being aware of the inner being, the inner self, that ultimately I am this living energy. The word soul is often used, but much more than that, to actually recognize that when I'm kind of standing within my own awareness of what and who I am, and no longer taking support from people, places, things, etc., it's like a liberation, actually. And this shouldn't really be new, because after all, that's what I've been trying to do for 30 years. But anyone who goes on a spiritual journey will understand that you often learn the same lesson many, many, many times. And each time it just goes a little bit deeper, a little bit vaster. So that's something which I've been realizing. And if I've got time to add one other snippet, something I've been particularly looking at is the how things occur for us in our life. We can spend a lot of time chasing. However, I came across this saying which I thought was really good. So let's add another quote in. And that is, you get according to what you are, not according to what you want. And I found that really epitomized what life is, how life is working, and the theme, the hidden meaning. We can be really caught out with wants, but you can also get very dissatisfied because they're never fulfilled. But you get according to what you are. And I think that's especially true on the level of other people's regard and love and respect for you. And this is what I've been realizing more recently, kind of bring the attention closer to home and enjoy that kind of freedom. So I don't know how long that is, but it feels about 10 minutes, 7 minutes.
Well, it felt like it went quickly, but this point that you touched on, it's like the hidden laws of spirituality. And the word law feels funny because it sounds like discipline, but it's just the way things are, as you said. So this feels like once we sense this dynamic, and also you mentioned about being aware of the inner being. Maybe we can hear a bit more about that as we go through the session, but I think that communicates something to others naturally, in a way, through the way we are, not just the words. So it's very interesting. So, okay, this is opening up many interesting areas, and we will now quantum leap to Lisbon and welcome Mara, who I think is in the same time zone. Portugal is also the same.
Yes.
So lovely to connect and hear from you on this secret subject.
So hello everyone. Hello. Thank you for this lovely invitation. And this is really a very deep theme to talk about, to think about. And I have been remembering the child I was. Since very young, I've been questioning myself about the hidden meaning of life, because I couldn't understand why things were such, they were in such a way for some people and different for other ones. Some people having so much fun, other people so unhappy. I could not understand. So I think, first of all, we have to be very aware that we have to go through our searches and discoveries ourselves. So no one will do that for you. You have to do that yourself. To discover what is behind every scene, behind every moment of your life, or the life of humanity, or the universe, even whatever we are going through these days, with the pandemic. It's not just a scene in the history of humanity. Something is behind it. So we must understand, we must ask ourselves, go deep into it and see what is the meaning of this. Not just questioning, because the meaning, you can go through different ways of discovering its meaning. But I mean, the spiritual meaning behind it, because I found out as I grew up, I found out that we can only answer our questions when we have spirituality. And so in the first question, all of us, or many of us, have asked ourselves, and regarding the meaning of our lives, is, who am I? So what am I here for? So then when we discover that we are these spiritual entities that are eternal, so we can answer so many questions. Thus, just understanding it. When we understand that this spiritual entity is can decide for itself, for example. So the meaning of life. So what is my life for? What is the purpose of my life? I have to decide myself. I have to give a purpose to my life, a name to my life. Otherwise, what I used to feel, even when I was very young, I used to feel emptiness. And I am sure many people in the world, they feel this emptiness inside because they don't know who they are. They don't know what is their lives are for. So they have no purpose. They just live today, tomorrow, and this is not enough. And then regarding to it, when we talk about spirituality, so imagine, giving meaning to every thing you do in life, not just doing it, but doing it with a meaning, doing it with the right consciousness, doing it with the right or the right values. So we were listening in the morning. Well, we had a class, and we were listening to something very important. So we should definitely do everything or make everything in our life valuable. So then you are sure you can really understand the deep meaning behind your life, behind the universe, behind whatever is going on. So this is really very deep. This subject of life and what is behind everything we think, we do, and it is very definitely very deep. And also, it is a choice all the time. We are making choices all the time. And we have to understand that the choices we make in life, they are not just, we cannot just make them by chance. We have to be sure that whatever we are choosing, we are creating for the future. So life, this is something very deep. I also understood with time that whatever I am now, I am a fruit of all the things I have created in the past since I was born and before. So this is the fruit of it now, and I have the power in my hands to create my future the way I want and how I want. It is all in my hands. I can do whatever I want with my life. And I would end with one thing. So how would I like people to remember me in future? So this is also regarding yourself and your life. So how are you going to live your life so people can remember you in future, or they will not remember you at all? Or because usually people remember us to the things we have done, to the things we have left behind. So what do I want to leave behind? And then there is another sentence that I find it is very meaningful, that I came empty-handed. When I came into this life, I had nothing on me. I mean, all these relationships we have around us, they were part of this birth, because we believe in reincarnation, but many people may not believe it. But as we believe, we know, okay, we have created things in the past and we are bringing it here now. But anyway, when we start over, everything is new. So we have started over so many times, and now when we leave this life, we also leaving everything behind. We only take with us experiences. So I think this is really, we have so many other things to talk about.
I find this interesting, that in a way there could be someone who unravels some meaning, but when we're talking about real meaning that resonates with the heart, we have to, as if, uncover it ourselves, for ourselves. What does it really mean for me? So we can have a great teacher in front of us, but what is going on inside my mind? I wonder if Mark would like to comment, because she mentioned a spiritual law, and that is a universal thing. So it's like we may be presented with it. What's your take on this self-realization aspect, and what personalization almost that Mara brought in, or any comments that come up?
Certainly, thank you. I loved what Mara was sharing. I think this is a wonderful conversation. One thing that came to my mind was, as Mara was sharing, that anyone on a spiritual path of any kind is going to study and listen to other people or read literature, etc., which is essential because you need ingredients. And myself being a keen reader and studier and lover of philosophy of different kinds, or various things to do with the mind or the spirit. So there's a lot of information gained, and sometimes I've had incredible, what I would call realizations or insights based on the material that I have read. And it's like a wow factor. There's suddenly something strikes the intellect, and there's a realization. But there's always a but. In this case, the but is I found the realization itself, or that deep understanding itself, can become a form of deception, because it has become an aspect of attainment in itself. So just realizing some spiritual truth or deep law of spirituality, it's incredible. It's like, wow. But what do I do with it? And unless I do something with it, then it's like a deception, because I think I've grown, I've changed, and I'm talking from personal experience, without applying it in my life in a very practical way, then it remains as that intellectual, that realization within the head. And so very important to apply it. And I can quite honestly say that I have missed an awful lot of chances because I was too intoxicated with the realization and forgot about the purpose of it, which is to bring some change in the self, in the form of my attitude, my quality of thinking, my state of awareness, where I'm actually coming from a deeper place inside. So you have to stop me, Sarah, if you want to, because in case I get on a roll.
No, it's so nice. I think, Mara, feel free to you can ask each other also. I was going to ask you for a practical example, but you kind of brought it in there at the end. It's the where I am coming from. So I guess you mean like, maybe you could just give a short example of something that you.
Yeah, I'll give. Yeah, certainly. One really incredible realization I had some while ago now, when I was in meditation, and suddenly multiple scenes of my life flicked through my mind. And when you get a book and you just turn the pages, all the pages go quickly through like this. You just put your thumb on the edge of the book, and so many scenes came flashing through my mind. And because all of them were connected with one particular weakness in the self, which was neediness. So it's like a realization that, that scene was because of neediness. And this scene, these scenes, a series of scenes covering many years. And I thought, goodness me, all that time. And it was neediness, which was at the root of it. It may have been something else as well, but at that time, in that meditation, the realization was neediness. So I was quite euphoric because I found the key, an incredible discovery. But after the realization, there's always things to do and whatnot. And that stayed in my mind, but gradually it kind of left. And I didn't do the deep kind of insightful work in myself to actually replace neediness with a state of kind of deep self-respect. I mean, we're always working on these things anyway, but that particular depth that was needed, that was an opportunity given, I didn't avail. And so that one got deferred.
Oh, thank you for sharing these experiences. That we need to not get caught at any level with just nice philosophy, notebooks getting full, and even talking, getting good at sharing is another thing. It would be nice, what comes up for Mara in this, if there's something you resonate with about meaning and the sort of the nuances and the shades of this for the self.
I was having a thought that yes, it's amazing how life you give you so many opportunities to see things around you, you know. And sometimes, as Mark was saying, it is a fact. Sometimes someone says something and then you say, wow, this is it. Or you read something, or sometimes you see something and then you say, wow, this is where I have to go, or this is how I have to change my life. But then, okay, these are just means for your change, but now the change has to come from yourself. You have to do the change yourself. And one of the things I have been thinking lately is that our life is definitely the final product of what we are creating for ourselves all the time. So whatever you are going to take with you is your final product. So, okay, we may have many thoughts, we may have read so many books, we may have listened so many classes and this or that, but what is that? What that caused? Which transformation that caused in yourself? So this is what it is important here. So how to use everything you have around you to make the changes in you, because this is what you're going to take with you. This is what is going to become your life. So this is wonderful. And then something else that was coming to my mind was regarding love, to love. Okay, so what is one of the most important hidden secret in life is definitely knowing how to love. How to love yourself, first of all, because we must learn to understand deeply who we are, to respect the self. And then from this point, we can definitely learn how to love humanity, how to love others around us, respect them, and accept them entirely. So I think this is one of the questions we brought with us when we were born. So how much have you learned how to love? And this is one of the last questions we are going to answer when we leave. So how much I was really able to love, and how much change I brought into my life through this love.
There's like articles on this, like the I don't know if it's called like regrets of the dying, but one of them is like, I wish I spent more time in connection with others rather than in work. No one regrets, I wish I'd spent more time at work. So certainly relationships are the big thing. I suppose in my mind, I'm also trying to understand this word is a mystery in itself, the 4-letter word, and how we, lawyers are kept busy also because of this 4-letter word. So whilst it's a precious thing that we definitely seek to have in our lives, how do we know that it is really selfless in a sense? Because love doesn't become bitter, but often we notice the songs about love are a mix of bittersweet. So I don't know if any thoughts come up from either of you on this, one of the life's big mysteries.
Yes, it certainly is. Because love, experiencing love in different ways with people is one of the joys of life, as you have indicated, and Mara sharing on. And but within the spiritual context, it's been a great freedom to recognize that the love is ultimately the experience of your own inner state. And seeking love is really, I think, a product of not being content with the experience of your own nature, your own self. So I think it's a very powerful and important arena of spirituality to be able to love the self, and yet without any vanity whatsoever, without any kind of ego whatsoever. And that's why I think it can only really be done when I have a very clear spiritual awareness of the self. And along with that, a clear understanding that in real terms, no one and nothing can give me anything. They can signal, they can encourage, they can activate, but no one can transfer, no one can give. Because someone can love you as much as they can, but if I'm in a bad mood, has it gone? Nothing's received. So it's like a connection. And I think when we are, each one of us, able to experience the inner love, and then we in connection with each other, then it's beautifully enhanced, because there's a group of people who are totally standing alone in their own self-respect, their own love, and therefore completely free, independent, and therefore the vibration of love and the expression of love is so enhanced and so subtle. But how to experience that? Well, I remember I was with the previous head of Brahma Kumaris for some time when the last visit to the UK, a lady called Daddy Janki. And she kept me with her for 40 minutes, giving me one lesson. And it wasn't in words. She said, no, she didn't say, she indicated, and she kept looking at me, and she did this. And she kept on doing that. And the translator, they didn't need a translator, but she said to me, I think she's trying to tell you something, Mark, because I tend to rely on my head so much, the intellect, but she was giving me such a powerful lesson. You have to start with the heart, start with the pure feelings, then use your head, then look or see others or whatever, and finally speak. But I literally, she did that, must be 20, 30 times. It's a big lesson. So I think that's it, is learning to open ourselves up and look within, but also with an understanding that the self deep down really is the embodiment of love.
When you painted that scene of individuals in their self-respect, very individual, it reminded me of being quite new and with a group of meditators, and there were 4, I think, all very different in character, and all honoring their own position, if you like. One was a businessman with a very sort of exaggerated way of doing things and a little bit demanding, but with no anger. The other one was playing a part of a yogi. Another one was like a younger brother, a little bit like mischievous. But they were all meeting at an equality, and no one was trying to be somebody else. and such a respect amongst everyone. And it was beautiful. And so it feels like it starts with this self-understanding. It would be lovely to hear what comes up for Mara and this.
So I was thinking, really appreciated very much whatever Mark and Sarah said. And I was thinking that we have to understand that, in fact, we are love. We are this being of love inside that is very pure, it's very beautiful, it's very untouched. So this is the feeling we have to touch inside ourselves. So this beauty, this cleanliness, and then whatever will come up, it will come up right, in like Mark was saying that Daddy was telling him, whatever will come up, it will come up beautifully. Whatever you think, if it is merged in this love that is no selfish love, unselfish, and then the selfless, love, and whatever we speak, we carry also this love. How you see things will be really in this field with this beautiful love. And so we have just to touch that whatever is inside ourselves, and keep moving on. Just you are this being. You just carry on, move on, and take this feeling with you wherever you go, in whatever task you are doing. You just use it as much as you can. People sometimes think that we should not show our love, because usually people are a little bit afraid of this. But no, it's not a question, because if you are, whatever you are, you cannot feel, it's not a problem to show what you are. You just show it. It is natural in you. So just be natural. We just need to be natural in this quality and other qualities, and move on, and learn with whatever happens on the way, and keep walking till we find our higher purpose in this life.
I think this tendency to constantly find our security through the acceptance of a group or organization or community means that it takes us off track, maybe on this search that you brought in at the beginning, that we need to understand the meaning for ourselves and within ourselves. So it feels like it has that connection. Maybe on this, or anything that Mark would like to say on that, but also I'd like to know what your method is. Like, for example, when it comes to self-understanding, like the technique of writing, because sometimes sometimes to catch these thoughts, we have to be open to the subtlety, and writing can help, but maybe you also have methods. But anything you want to share also on this subject of independence?
Yeah, writing is a wonderful method. Journaling, which I have done on different occasions, but not for a while now. Something I've been really looking at is talking to the mind, to just understanding that the thoughts and the feelings that come up in the mind as reactions, but most of the time very kind of mild things, but thoughts which are not really related to where I want to focus on, not related to truth. So it's just qualifying that those thoughts, those feelings are not really relevant, they're not really needed. So speaking to my mind. So I've been reminding my mind that I am your king and you are my minister. And I used to do that years ago, like 25 years ago, or more even actually. But it's been such a long time since I've talked to my mind in that way. And because it's such a long time, it feels very fresh and new to actually qualify the mind, what's going on. But how to actually experience that love is sometimes entertaining the thought that the self really is by nature the loving being, and allowing myself to kind of hold that thought, kind of sink into that thought, sink into that feeling. But something I've actually found very useful for me for a while now is this exercise of what if. Because when you try and convince yourself that you are full of love, then quite often the mind will say, well, what about yesterday? And or other times it may rebel and not accept. So what I found is by asking myself, what would it feel like if I was the embodiment of love? What would it feel like if I was totally centered in self-awareness and stable in my own state of spiritual love? How would that feel? And it's like I'm inviting myself into that dimension of experience. And because it's a question, the consciousness goes out to look for an answer, and in this case, an experience. And so it's served me well to go in that way. And when I get into that feeling of experiencing love within the self as a general feeling and then state of being, then I create enough thoughts to keep myself there, but not so many that I move into the world or arena of thought itself, because love is a state. And when you're in love, in that state of love, it's almost thoughtless. It's like one thought. So it's like knowing the self well enough to know how much like fuel to add to the fire, just the right amount. And that's particularly in meditation. And the rest of the time, which is most of the time, of course, don't sit for so long, but to, as much as possible, start something, first of all, with a feeling, a thought of the self in this context being love. Remembering that what I'm going to be left with after this action is the feeling I carry whilst doing it. Something Mara was referring to earlier.
I think this is a nice technique for bypassing the ordinary chatter that won't go for that 100%. It's like, well, that's not what I feel now, so it's just imagination or this argument, but it's like the what if. And I guess that ordinary chatter is probably that the ego mind or the false identification that is tied up with this limited sense of the true self. If Mara has any comments on that, but also be lovely to hear your method for bringing the self into this state of the beauty, cleanliness, and that clear vibration that you were bringing us to earlier.
I learn a lot through examples. So when I see someone doing something, or and then it is so touching, you know, so it will change my way of being naturally, because I can see, even if it's something not correct. So I see that what is not, it is happening, and I know what I shouldn't do, because I know the result of how things can be if I go in that direction. And so I can learn a lot instantly through this. So also deep questioning. I like this very much. So whenever I'm having some kinds of thoughts that, sometimes there are such thoughts that come back again and again in relation to a situation, or how we should do to sort out this or that. And so then I ask myself deeply, so why, this question is coming back again and again? What is there in between? me and the other person, me and the situation. Why I cannot sort out it completely at once? Because I think Mark said it at the beginning, and I agree completely. So, for example, if you don't sort out something now, it will come back later. So then, what is missing there? So, what is the screw, or what is what am I what I need at that moment? What I need at this moment, that I am able to finish with this feeling inside and eradicate it completely from myself at once. So, what is this word? What is this quality? What is this behavior I have to change? And also, something that I find it is very important here, it is to be nice to yourself, because we are not perfect, and we are in a process of improving every day. So we are going to make mistakes, definitely. And if you learn with your mistakes and don't go back there again and again, that is very good. So be good to yourself. I'm always good. I'm always good to myself. You know, I really feel I'm a light person, not heavy. No, why you should have done like this? Why did you say such a? Okay, you said. You cannot go back. You have done. But there is something I do also that helps me a lot. Before doing something, before speaking something, I think many times beforehand. So it will help me not to do or to minimize wrong deeds, wrong words, because I've done my work before. And so I know exactly how I should do it. So this is my way of dealing with this cleanliness inside.
Yeah, the deep and honest checking, and and I feel very much. I've heard something from Mark similar about this. Really, just checking the thoughts and then checking the words. And I think maybe both of you are in environments with lots of other cooperative meditators, so it can get intense. So I think this is definitely a secret for how to live in one's truth in a community. There is a question in the chat, and feel free who would like to answer. Is curiosity necessary to find the hidden meaning of life? Do we actively need to seek it, or will the meaning reveal itself to us anyway? Nice question.
I don't think it will reveal itself. I think you have to actively seek it. The opportunity may come to you by itself, but it's really a very active process, an active journey. Yeah, because I think the world is like a river, it's going like downhill. So if you want to go up to the source, then it's an active process, and based on a deep recognition that your greatest benefit, and actually the greatest benefit of all those you're connected to, lies in finding your truth. It's a very active.
And no one else can do that for you.
And no one else can do that for you, no. And actually, if I could, just one thing which I felt is quite important for this topic as well, and that is hope. It's connected in a way, because I've had a kind of, it's another realization. I had in the back of my mind this phrase, it will be all right, everything will be all right, which on one level is very good because it's like a comfort, a security, but it can also make you careless, lazy, not take responsibility, because after all, everything will be all right. So it's good to have a very positive and positive outlook, but it really needs to be backed up by inner discipline, personal responsibility, that I am responsible for my thoughts, words, deeds, as Mara was indicating, and that we are living in a world of entropy, meaning everything's dissipating, everything is breaking down in different ways. So if I don't want to go down, I have to consciously go up.
It's a nice analogy with the stream. It's like, in a way, to get the source, it's like the salmon, isn't it? So that journey. Anything come up for Mara in this? Would you like to add on this subject?
So the question was regarding curiosity, right?
Yes. Do we need curiosity?
I think yes, definitely, and I would translate it in another sentence, because this is what really is something I ask myself. Have I learned anything new today? So there was a time I had this aim of learning something new every day. So it could be anything. It could even be something out there in the world, that I didn't know how to do. And so then I would discover. So I think it is very important to have this feeling. Even I was remembering that even little animals, like cats, for example, if you check on them, you see all dogs, they're always going around and to see if there is anything new in the house and in people around them. So I think this is part of our nature, and as much as you can find something new, this is life, because life is newness. So if we if we live every day the same, so there is no magical point in it. There is no magical, no magic. It's all the same all the time. So then, yes, I would say let's go for it, because if one is able to keep his mind and his heart always full of this curiosity, we use this word, so then we will never get old. You'll be always fresh, because someone who is always looking for something new around and learning with everything, we're always a new person, always young in this sense. So
I noticed that during lockdown, that even though every day was exactly the same, it's like if your mindset is in the right space, there's newness, even though there really isn't in that ordinary sense. Now, Mara, you might like to pick this one up, a question in the chat. How do you forgive yourself and love yourself when in reality you're actually blaming yourself or scared of yourself? That's how the question is. Any comments, anything come up on that?
I think we all had situations in life that put us in such a term with ourselves. I have said something I shouldn't have said. I have done something that I haven't, I should not have done. And so for this, sometimes during the whole life, the person will be really pointing the finger to the self. But then there is here something that is very important. So past is past. So if we look at the science, they say that every 7 years our cells will change completely. So it means that even if in the past, even yesterday, if you did something wrong, it was yesterday. You are something else today. If you did something wrong a few years back, you are another self nowadays. So just take the opportunity of this mistake you have made to change yourself and put a full stop, because this will not help yourself to get better. This is the situation. If we said, okay, no, really, I regret so much and I will live with this regret till the end of my life. Oh, if this would be the answer, okay, but this is not the answer. So, and the only way to cure it is to talk to yourself. Talk to yourself deeply. Try to understand why you have done such a thing, or why you have behaved with yourself or with others in such a way. Write down if you want. Every day you do the same. You go there every day and you put God's light on it every day. that situation, you put God's light on that situation, you see that you will be able to forgive yourself, and you are going to be able to forgive others if this is the case, and you'll be able to move on. That is the most important thing here. Move on. Because life means move on. You have to keep moving on. You cannot be held back. You have to keep moving on.
And certainly when we have been able to grasp a deeper meaning, which is like taking us to a different level of potential help for others, then whatever has been done, we can also contribute at a different level, which helps as well with, it puts into scale, into context, perhaps, whatever has happened. If I don't know if Mark has anything to add. We do have one more question to try to squeeze in before the end, but it'd be nice if you have anything to add.
Just briefly, blame on this. Blame, of course, is can be applied outside or inside, and to the self it becomes shame and then guilt. And if it's something recent, then the thoughts in the mind, you'll notice that they're there when you think of that so-called mistake or whatever it was. But when your mind's diverted to something else, the thoughts and the feelings are not there. So that if it's recent, something recent, it's an opportunity to realize that all of that unhappiness or pain or sorrow related to the self-blame is something happening in the mind when you remember the scene, and it's not there when you don't. So that understanding means you can then recognize, okay, I just have to, like Mara said, deal with those thoughts. If it's something a long time ago, then the chances, and it's still an issue, the chances are it's gone deep into the subconscious. And for that, I would suggest really remembering the self as the spiritual being, and remembering that it doesn't matter whatever's happened. We use a word called drama. It happened, it happened. Now, remember you are that spiritual energy. And as Mara also said, use God's light, which is, of course, a whole subject in itself.
We could arrange part 2 for this, definitely. Maybe, I know we're coming to time, but just a final question, and it's the mystery of why we know often what is good for us, and we may have even tasted the benefit of maybe a meditation practice, a spiritual lifestyle, and paying good attention to details, as you both highlighted, making sure we're putting into practice. So all of these things, we feel so much lighter, cleaner, happier, but there's a part of the self which is like sabotaging sometimes, so that we've got a higher self, maybe it's like our true nature, but there's this lower side. We could call it the false identification or ego, and it was touched on earlier. If maybe Mark, you would like to share to start with, like what does this mean to you, this side where it's a mystery, you know, we know what we want to do, but there's this tricky side within us.
Whoever we believe we are, whatever identity we hold, then consciousness works to maintain that and to keep on proving it to the self. So despite the very beautiful, maybe blissful experience or experiences, the identity is still not embracing that is my truth or reality. And so it's good to recognize that, okay, I want to shift my consciousness to being someone who regularly meditates, who is inclined to enjoy that blissful state. And so you have to ask yourself, okay, someone who has meditation as their lifestyle, as part of their life regularly, who likes to live in that joyful state, what kind of habits would they have? What kind of routines would they have? And then to recognize that I just need to adopt those routines. And something which has worked really well for me, and I think a lot of people, is write down or just take very clear note, what's the minimum you're willing to do? And on meditation, say you really love to meditate every day, you'd love to meditate for half an hour. Okay, forget half an hour. What's the minimum? If can you manage 5 minutes? If not 5, can you manage 2 minutes? Then if you can think, yeah, I can manage 2 minutes, then okay, every day at the same time, you just sit for 2 minutes. That's it. You can do hours more, but you can't do less than 2 minutes. And that everyone can do. And when you do that, it creates the discipline, and you get power from the practice, but you get power and energy from completing your discipline. I found that works very well for me and others.
And it helps to conquer that voice inside. I think you both highlighted this like inner critical voice. It's like it's a sign that we can make very deep changes through these habits. Thank you so much for that. Mara, I don't know if you have anything to add or any final reflections from yourself.
So even regarding to this theme, I was thinking that one thing is to know you want to do something or this is good for me. Another thing is to believe that this is really good for me. So I think this is the clue. So we have to go deep into that. So I feel, okay, if meditation is good for me, okay, but it's not enough. It will not make you move on in that direction, just thinking that meditation is good. So many people in the world, they think meditation is good, but they are not meditating because in fact they don't believe really inside themselves that will change their lives. So if we can go through the things that we believe are good for us, for example, being vegetarian, okay? So, okay, we have heard so many things that being vegetarian is a nice thing to be. It is very important nowadays, but do I believe in it? So then you have to go deep in the idea, in the research of it. Research it. As much as you know about the topic, more you are going to be inside it. And maybe it will one day, something we have spoken before, there will be a click to say, yes, I don't want to miss any meditation because this is really it. I want to do it. I believe in it. I can see the practical result in my life. So the same thing happens to God, for example. So many people talk about God, but really, do I believe in God? Am I able to bring him inside my life as part of my life? So this is something different, but you only get there if you go deep into it. So this is also, as we were saying since the beginning, the meaning of life is definitely going or diving into all these different issues or all these different themes that are around us all the time, and make our choices. So this is life. That's why we are so different. Someone will choose this, another person will choose something different, because it has to do with your beliefs. What do you really believe? This is what you're going to become.
And when we are strong in our own set of understanding and also conviction, then we become, I think, much more solid, because otherwise we are believing but without questioning. It's just a collection of what we've been given by those around us in society. So we're kind of prone to getting pulled out of ourselves all the time. So yes, it helps to go back into more honest questioning, a kind of a positive spiral, I think, that gets developed. So thank you. This is be nice to close maybe with a few reflections, meditation, maybe from the coast, from Mark, and anything that you want to kind of summarize or share.
Summarize is the power of thought. and recognizing we are what we're looking for, the essence of that we have inside. That's the summary for me. Okay. Meditation?
Yes, thank you.
So as you sit, relaxed and alert, conscious of all around you, accepting all as it is, bring the awareness closer within to the body, acknowledging and accepting the body as it is. Bringing the awareness to the forehead region, the place of thoughts. Accepting, acknowledging everything in the mind as it is. And for a moment, just imagine how you would feel if at this very moment in time, your mind became quiet. And imagine within that quiet mind, there was a deep, powerful feeling of pure love. As if a reservoir of love. And how would you feel if this pure love filled your mind with such sweet feelings? With a sense of such security, so much safety, that you can really be with yourself and happy with yourself. Acknowledging, accepting what has happened, and it made me look deeper inside. Letting go of any negative feelings and attitudes towards the self and then others. And allowing the self to feel the original nature of deep peace pure love. Knowing, deeply knowing that I continuously have a choice on what to think, feel, express, and most of all, be. I, the living being, am the master of I. Om Shanti.
So wish to hold those beautiful feelings, and if anyone is in a position to come into camera, and we can acknowledge the all of those joining, and be really nice just to acknowledge all of these beings of peace and pure love. And thank you so much to Mark, to Mara for sharing so beautifully, and to everyone for your presence, contribution, and for being connected. It was very, very enriching. And we will be having the recording on the YouTube of Sky Beyond Sky channel. The Tuesday talk we have coming up in 2 weeks is linked in the way that the title is a mystery. We haven't organized the title, but the date is there. But, I just want to acknowledge Mara and Mark. Thank you, and we look forward to visiting you.
Thank you so much. You are all welcome when this pandemic is finished. Let's meet again.
Wonderful idea. I'm booking my plane.
We are seeing the practical form of everything that's been shared, I can promise, when we have the opportunity to visit.
And best special thanks to all of the translators too.
Absolutely, yes. Congratulations and a round of applause as well. Appreciations. So we'll just share this information for the coming up 2 weeks' time. We'll be connecting with Ash, also from the Worthing Centre, and we'll be in discussion with Ioana Goga, who's in Cambridge and originally from Romania. So it'll be very rich conversation. And we like dialogues that brings out a lot of newness and harmony and beauty. So look forward to welcoming you again next time. Also, we'll be sharing in the chat information about the ongoing courses from Cambridge Inner Space. So until next time, enjoy, and good luck with this unraveling of this mystery and beauty of the self. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Mark, and everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.